Take me a portion in accordance, but it's all annoying that we welcome you to come get a portion. Join us. No more everyday Brian versus Jordan. James said the victory comes from the Lord, but we still prepare the horses. It's the podcast table. We got more please. No referees, but the reference is reverence. So I guess then I earn my stripes and just treat me like
welcome.
A whistle.
Young Cam, week 7.
Week 7.
The podcast stable. I am Jeff, the techpreneur for the people, and he is
Cam Era in the building.
Cam Era in the building. So week 7, revenge, redemption, reality checks. Let's talk about it.
Man, last week both went 2-3. I tried to talk myself into the Bears, but I just couldn't. And they actually came up and won. Tech P. You didn't choose the Bears, and they came out and well, what was up with that?
The Bears are always a very difficult choice to make. And they were up against another team that's going to make a very challenging pick for us today as well. And so,
man,
I don't, 2-3, it's below 500. However, we're in good shape on my side.
That's crazy.
We're in good shape, For me, like I said, the Bears, anyone that's watching the games, they ought to know that the last 40 years, and 40 is greater than 30. And so, for us retired Dallas Cowboy fans, the Bears, we love that they exist. We love that they exist.
What you call it? Another game we had last week, we both chose, right? It was a little gimme, Browns versus Steelers, which actually leads to the recap for the Thursday night game. I don't know. Did you see that that Browns report, or analyst, or the guy that talks to the team, and the rant he had? Mm-hmm. And I say, as somebody who used to be one of those Madden players that rebuilds teams and stuff, I have to agree with him. I could have done a better job. I would have not traded Joe Flacco to save the Bengals, because he's pretty much saving the Bengals. And time after time again, Mike Tomlin is being haunted and hunted by Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco was on, he got a press conference where he's saying, whatever you do, do not knock, what's the guy that's, he was the 4th overall pick in Indianapolis? I can't remember, but the guy that they got benched for Daniel Jones right now. They said, whatever you do, don't knock him out of the game. Yeah, Anthony Richardson. Don't knock him out of the game, because we do not want Joe Flacco in the game. Joe Flacco ended coming into the game and winning the game for the Colts against the Steelers. And then on Thursday night, he does it again. He beats the Steelers, and it's very questionable from that Browns GM. One, you sign Flacco. He's good enough to be your day one starter. You trade him to the Bengals. And then you got this whole thing with Dylan Gabriel and Shador, and it's just...
sometimes, when it doesn't make sense, you got to just chalk it up. You just got to chalk it up. Yeah. And you gotta, move away from it, because your imagination can definitely come up and give you some scenarios about why this could all be. However, Flacco, he came out and he looked like a old man JJ. He was tossing all over them. Boom, boom. Just like JJ tossed over the Bears in week 1.
He didn't care who was out there, who was guarding Jalen Ramsey getting picked on, Slade getting picked on. He didn't care. He didn't care, and they
get him up.
The Steelers' defense has surprisingly not been as good as the names on the paper would suggest they should be. And It's going to be tough. I mean, if Joe Flacco keeps them in this, I think the Bengals will come around and win that division. So
we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be great commentary, especially with the Browns. The Browns in their predicament.
Yeah, slated for a top 5 pick at the moment. But let's go ahead and segue into this week. We have another quarterback who, he's labeled as the backup, but he's facing his old team. They're coming into town, and I'm talking about Carson Wentz hosting Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. Who you got?
The Philadelphia Eagles have been so hard to call on and predict this season. I don't want to say like I'm overstudied on either one of these teams. I've watched them just like any casual fan. I'm going to say that Philly has to win this game. Philly has to win this game, but they got big problems. This game means more to Philadelphia, considering that they came into the season with some expectations. And right now, they're misfiring on those expectations. And I would even say that their body language is suggesting that there's some chemistry challenges. And so I don't think that losing helps that. And so their coaching needs to get a plan together to get their pieces backfiring, get back to football. I think maybe even less tush pushes may probably be good for them. And so I'm gonna take Philadelphia, and I'm going to say less tush pushes.
Well, it would be. I picked Philadelphia in a good amount of games this season. Now we didn't do the Giants game, and I would have picked the Giants, but that's retrospect. I can't take credit for any of that. I will show you today. I'm going to go with the Vikings. I'm going to go with Carson Wentz gets his revenge in a time of turmoil in Philadelphia. That's usually how sometimes things work out. They got a player retiring midseason. That's telling me a lot about what's going on over there. The Vikings have a really good pass defense, and that's going to create more frustration from those receivers and on the sidelines, this, that, and the other. And Jalen Hurts is probably going to have to run more by himself today, and I think he will do that. But I think Carson Wentz and their defense is just not as good as they used to be. I think he wills and deals on them today at home. And the Vikings come out with a win in that tough division. I mean, what you got? You got the Lions, the Packers, and the Bears.
So you're taking the Vikings?
I'm taking the Vikings. I'm taking Wentz.
We're starting off with war this week. Starting off with war this week. Give me 1 second. I gotta jump real quick. I'll be right back.
Yeah, once upon a time, Wentz was one of my favorite players. I mean, I think he won the MVP the year they won a Super Bowl. Now, I would have picked Tom Brady for that year because Wentz missed the last 2 games. And I mean, in retrospect, and I said it at the time, but in retrospect, I mean, they went and won the Super Bowl without him. And that didn't take away that he played great or anything like that. But Tom Brady needed to be on the team to win the Super Bowl. Now, I think the year before that, Tom won the MVP the year before Carson. And I think I was going with Derek Carr that year. That's what I want to say. I want to say I was going with Derek Carr that year, but
Vikings.
I have my own. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying you taking the Vikings. What were you saying?
I was about to just go into how I have my own MVP. Like some people win MVP, I have my own MVP list for both, basketball and NFL. So you will hear me bring it up when we talk about the people who have won the MVP and the people who are documented in my book as the most valuable player for certain years. But next up, we got another former NFC East quarterback, Indiana Jones, Danny Dimes, 5-1, I believe, 5-1, visiting the Chargers in her loss. Her loss. And honestly, today I would probably actually pick the Chargers if they had Joe Alt. But the last game that I watched the Chargers play without Joe Alt, they just didn't have enough time to protect Justin Herbert. I'm not saying he's gonna get like rush out the wazoo today or anything like that, but I think Joe Alt might be the unsung hero of that team, and his protection of Justin Herbert. The Colts are finding ways to win. They got probably the best running back in the NFL right now, and Jonathan Taylor. He's willing and dealing every week, consistent grinding, and Danny Dimes has been taking care of the football, using his legs. I mean, honestly, he's looking kind of like Dart, but more mature. And it goes to say, like, man, sometimes you need a little different situation. And Dart's doing well too. We have that game on the slate too. But I'm gonna go with the Colts, especially. Yeah, I watched the game against the Giants. They did not look good. They were not good against the run. And Jonathan Taylor is a dog. He's a dog, and I think he's going to have a big day versus the Chargers. And I got the Colts coming out strangling the AFC South. That's pretty much over. That's pretty much over. They're going to be the winners of that division, and they're looking for a number 1 seed in the playoffs. Danny Dimes. Wow.
Danny Dimes.
Anthony Richardson, where do you go from here?
Richardson, where do you go from here? Maybe I'm not really sure. I think this is kind of, to me, for the Chargers, it's much the same story as Philadelphia.
Must win.
Yeah, I mean, you not the Chargers, but
the Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers. Yeah, this is in their division. It doesn't get any easier. So I think how much I admire the work of Jim Harbaugh. I think he's got to have his quarterback ready. I think his quarterback's got to go out and play like sometimes they say he is, and sometimes he shows up and plays.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
Say it again.
Said maybe it's Maybelline.
Hey, listen. It's possible. But I'm not sold on the Colts. I mean, that's a weak division. They could be fool's gold. And I've seen the Chargers playing against some of these teams that are supposed to be the contenders this year, and it's still kind of been up and down. But I've also seen them show up and perform well. So, that's kind of how I think about it. So I'm gonna take the Chargers.
Danny Dimes, you hear him? He said it's not enough. It's not enough. Hey, Danny Dimes, go ahead. Today is the day. We're gonna see if we start putting some respect on his name. But next up, we got Danny Dimes' former team, the New York Giants, coming off of a Thursday night football victory versus the Eagles, head to Mile High and face Sean Payton, Bo Nix, and the Broncos. Wow, who do you got on this one?
Hold on, my connection dropped. What did I miss?
Oh, I was just saying that we got rookie quarterback, some would say sensation, Jaxson Dart, visiting Sean Payton and the Broncos in Mile High.
Yeah. So Jaxson is riding high. Jaxson is riding high. Defense in Denver is at a premium. And so in the altitude, I don't know that Jaxson has ever been, and I don't know that you've ever been to Mile High. I've actually been to Mile High before. I've gone to a game there before. And so, they say that it makes a difference. I'm going to say that, John Elway and that organization and their attempt to put some spread out offense on the field historically and what they're trying to do this year, I think Jaxson Dart is going to have a challenge on his hands today. And so he's going in with a lot of confidence. I think today is going to be a bit humbling for him. And so I'm going with Denver in Denver.
I definitely could see that. However, I saw last week a team struggle against the Jets. And that is lingering on my mind. You almost gave the winless team their first win. And I've seen, by the way, the Colts beat the Broncos earlier this season as well. So I want to put that out there for Danny Dimes and the Colts. But I am not that confident. Like, I think they have a great cornerback. I mean, he's probably the best cornerback in the NFL, and Patrick Surtain the second. But man, the juice right now in New York, man, they got some juice, and honestly, like, it'll be good. It'll be, I think, the best possible outcome for the NFL would be for the Giants to win this game to make the NFC East competitive. And I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just saying the best possible script. And the Broncos, because I predicted the Chargers lost too, so maybe this is my NFL script. And that saying competitive, while the Chiefs get their free win today and come back and make it a little three horse race in the AFC West. So I'm gonna go with Jaxson Dart in the upset. I'm gonna get these W's back, climb up. Jaxson Dart gets a dub in Mile High. You're on mute. Are you muted yourself on purpose?
Yeah, I was talking to your sister. She's standing over me on the other side of the camera, telling me to get her breakfast ready. I told her it was already there. But I'm listening to you. You're picking young Dart.
Yeah, I'm picking Dart. I'm picking Scatterboo. I'm picking it's gonna be tough though, because if they turn the ball over, they'll probably lose. But we'll see. I just think it makes for the best story. I'm gonna go with the Giants to win today, and that brings us to our next matchup. Another NFC, well, really NFC East clash, as one would say, the Commies,
formerly known as
the Redskins and all that, visiting gerrymanderers, the Commanders versus the gerrymanderers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I knew this day would come. And I knew this day would come. And, ironically, I hated to see it line up this week, to be honest with you. I think I've taken the Dallas Cowboys every week.
No, you pick Green Bay.
Okay, yeah. One time. It's the seventh week. I've been picking the Cowboys like crazy.
Well, in your defense, first game was Philly. You didn't, if there's not a good reason to pick Philly, you don't pick Philly. Then they had a game versus the Bears. You know how you feel about the Bears.
I love them. Without the Bears being around right now, the Dallas Cowboy fans, the former Dallas Cowboy fans, wouldn't have a stoop to stand on if it wasn't for the Bears. And so I love the Bears.
So I think reasonably, you've kind of picked the Cowboys in a few games. I feel like for your persona, it was reasonable. But what are you saying about this one?
What am I saying about this one? It's hard to pick the commies and Major Tutty to do anything at any time. Last year they came out and at the end of the season, because of their quarterback, I actually said, you know what? That Washington team, they may have something there, but it's still the team formerly known as the Redskins, the Washington Commies. And the tiebreaker is always going to be this. That Major Tutty is just ridiculous. If you don't know who Major Tutty is, it's the Washington Commies, I guess, mascot. And it is a very happy pig. And his name is Major Tutty. And he's just, I don't know how they came up with this. And for opposing fans, we love the fact that they chose Major Tutty. And so, I have to get back to the game and think about, do I want to pick the Dallas Cowboys again?
Yet again.
They're going to give up 40 today to the Commies with, I think they're down their 2 top receivers. And they're still going to give up 40 is what the prediction I'm going to make. And it's now up to whether or not I believe, not in the Dallas Cowboys, not in Jerry Jones, but do I believe that if Dakota Prescott finishes this game, that he can come out ahead of the Washington Commies? The answer is yes.
Oh,
I'm going with Dakota Prescott.
Oh!
He's gonna overcome gerrymandering again
Where's
today.
The soundboard?
I'm going with Dakota Prescott, baby.
Oh man. He just walked us through it. He led us this way, then brought us back this way.
I'm going back, baby.
And it came back to number 4.
Here we go.
Yeah. Listen, for me, this is a tough one because I think going into this game, I am the one who's actually chosen the Cowboys every game this season, and my record speaks for it. Now, this game, I'm saying I'm going to pick against them because it's time. It's time to pick against them. Last week, it was the Panthers, and come on, it was just like, yeah, that's not it. I mean, the Panthers are not as bad as they used to be, but still, it was just, yeah, very, very disappointing showing. But I will say, Deebo Samuel's not playing. Terry McLaurin is not playing. And so even though I don't think the Cowboys can guard anyone, it's going to be to a lesser degree. I'll put some respect on those wide receivers' names, like they would have done
Diggs
more.
is out too, by the way.
Who?
Diggs. Diggs is out. He said
that was my next point. I think that is a positive for the Cowboys because he's been getting torched, been dismantled, and I think this is like some type of weird healthy scratch. But they just put, a label on it so maybe they could get a trade partner. Maybe, I don't know. But I think that's a positive for the Cowboys. And now there's another person returning, which I think is a pseudo negative. CD Lamb is returning, and he's missed about 5 games this season, and he still leads the league in drops since he's entered the league. So he will be dropping the ball again. And that leads me back to maybe I should take the Commanders. But he still has George Pickens. He still has Jakey Ferguson. He still has Javonte Williams who's been playing good. And Miles Sanders is done for the season. So he's done. And he's still number 4. He's still number 4, holding up his end. I think they don't quite score 40 against the Cowboys, maybe it's 33. And rain. Yeah, you're gonna have to tell me why he's been dropping the balls, Miss McKinney, because we need to know. We need to get this solved because I am a proponent of maybe CD needs to be traded too. But I got Dak Prescott again. Surprise, surprise. Dak Prescott wins today. They go to 3-3-1, and then I'm gonna re-look at next week because I'm gonna start picking some losses for them for sure. But I just don't think the Commanders are healthy enough to win this one, and their defense has not been looking too hot either. And they lost to the Bears last week. I mean, I'm sorry, that's lingering in my mind too. So
they did lose. They did lose to the Bears, and but there is the Eberflus effect.
Oh, he's a Bear. That's a former Bear. So look, yes, it's all bad. It's all bad, but we're gonna leave that game there, and we're gonna talk about someone in the Bears' division. Someone you picked last week. Jared Goff is hosting Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers on Monday night. Wow. I mean, for me, this is tough because I really definitely want to pick Detroit in this spot because I think they have a very talented team. But last week I went against Baker and it didn't turn out so well. I trust Baker much more than I trust Jared Goff. I in my heart of hearts, I can't pick. And Baker Mayfield is making that MVP case stronger and stronger as we proceed through the weeks. Every 7 days, he is giving new reason. And when this is week 7, and I think that Baker Mayfield, if he goes into Detroit, which I'm picking them to do, there's going to be a considerable gap for the MVP. He's going to have some cushion. And he's got a weak division to really stat pad it up and really get that going. And that'll be another question about the Browns GM from earlier in the episode. How does he still have employment at the Browns? I'm not saying he shouldn't be hired anywhere else, but for what has been going on, if Baker Mayfield wins an MVP and then you trade Joe Flacco to the Bengals and they start winning enough to get Joe Burrow back, and then you got Dylan Gabriel just losing every week, I'm sorry, brother. I don't advocate for anybody to lose employment. I really don't. But as someone who pseudo builds teams from my early days, I am just these are offenses that are incredulous. So hey, I'm gonna go with Tampa Bay to beat Jared Goff. Shout out to Detroit though. I like the rest of y'all's team. Y'all need a quarterback in my eyes. But it's time for Tech P to take the proverbial floor.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I can vouch for being there as you would play in this GM mode, trading assets, receiving assets, coaching different assets. I remember when you were very young, you would talk about salary cap. And I was wondering how you were doing this, and I asked you, and you started to tell me about the GM mode or something on one of these games, which, I just didn't play video games anymore. But since then, now I see Nixon, and this is like, something, I don't know if he picked this up from you, but he gets in there and they create teams and they trade assets, and you walk by and it's a whole nother quarterback with a whole nother team, and they're on some type of mode where, I think you would tell me, "Oh, it's the 7th. I'm winning my 7th Super Bowl."
7th NBA championship.
Yeah. It's my 7th one. I'm like, oh man, hey, listen, man, go for it. And so, when I heard that rant by the Browns media personality, I was like, yeah, I bet Cameron could be a pretty decent GM of an NFL franchise. I'm pretty sure of it, especially if that was his job. This is what he did growing up. And so you would even hear them talk about coaches like Sean McVay, and they would talk about the impact that playing the video game had on those types of coaches to understand offenses. And so I do think that is something that goes into, kind of the current media personalities and the minds and the personalities. And so you do have that background. So I do think that you have a voice that should be trusted in that way. Baker Mayfield, I picked him last week. And it was because, I said that he rises to the occasion. And he went out last week and he played like a stud. He really played like a stud. The Detroit Lions, picked them last week. They didn't win. They didn't win. And so this is a Monday night game. This is a Monday night game. And again, Baker rises to the occasion. Who needs this game? That's been the theme of this, kind of deciding factor of picks for me is who really needs this game the most. The Detroit Lions need this game the most. They're at home. They came in as contenders. They haven't played up to what they should be tracking towards at this point in the season. This is we're over the NFL season is here. Let's just be happy to see some games. No, this is real football. This is real football. This is why these guys get paid to go out here and put it on the line. And so I am going to say last week Detroit got embarrassed. And they're in line. They're in line to get embarrassed yet again. However, they're going to answer this week. They have to. If they don't, they're done for the season. And so I'm going Detroit Lions with this pick. I'd like to see them stay in it. But a loss to Baker would be demoralizing on Monday night, week 7. So I'm taking golf, taking coach. I need you guys to step up and bring in a W here. Protect P.
I feel that. I think on one hand, you definitely can say that, yes, maybe the Lions do need it. They're in a tougher division. I will counter by saying that they also, I think the Buccaneers might need it more because the last time the Buccaneers had, a top seed, granted that was Tom Brady. They went to the Super Bowl and won. And I think that Tampa Bay in the playoffs, I mean, they hosted the Eagles one year. They beat the Eagles. I want to say that was the year. That had to be because the Eagles have been to back-to-back Super Bowls, or no? I think they had a space in between. They went to the Super Bowl, then had that year. They started off 10-0, and then lost the last few games, and then they lost the division. And they played the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay because Tampa Bay won the division. Tampa Bay won that game, and Tampa Bay have been losing close games in the playoffs because they haven't had home field. And I'm not saying that's the only reason, but I think if Baker can get a free round and home field advantage, we're looking at an amazing story. So I'm gonna counter and say maybe the Buccaneers have that sense of urgency to where they needed more.
It will definitely be momentum building, and what Baker's been able to do. I think they went in last week with his top 2 receivers down, and then lost the rookie sensation in the middle of the game and got a guy off the bench. It was very reminiscent. I don't know if you remember old Beer Man, that story out in New Orleans about a decade or so ago, where they talked about a beer man who jumped the fence and got out there with Sean Payton and Breeze, and I think had a nice run of a career because of their need and their depletion at wide receiver. Well, this wasn't quite beer man. It was someone from their roster, 2 or 3 players down, but to come in, I think he had multiple receivers that he's thrown their first NFL touchdown to. This is Baker basically saying, give me the rock, everybody line up, and let's go. I just think that it would be season-ending, back-breaking. Let's look at this team. Let's figure out what needs to happen here if the Detroit Lions don't find a way to win this game.
We got the Bears in the division. We got Green Bay, who's got a tie, and then who's the last team in that division? The Vikings, and I think the Vikings to win today. I still think they would still be poised to win that division. They still. I mean, they lost that game to Green Bay, so that's a little bit of a setback. But I think they would still be in okay shape to regroup. To try and win that division. I think they'll definitely be a playoff team. But I will always say they need to regroup because they don't have the quarterback. And I'm standing on that. No offense to you. This is nothing personal. This is just about what I've seen and the results that I've seen. You have a guy that had home field advantage and lost to a rookie quarterback in the playoffs. He's got us looking at Jaden Daniels like he's Lamar Jackson. And Jaden Daniels is good. But when it was time to face the Eagles did what they were supposed to do. The Lions did not do what they were supposed to do when they had home field advantage. So in that case, they should always be needing to regroup because he's basically, I would say, a worse Alex Smith. And I have a lot of respect for Alex Smith, but he can come to a team and make them competitive, and they'll be in the playoffs, but they won't be able to win, especially with his turnovers. So they should always regroup on that notice, but they could win. I wanted to pick them. AJ Brown, 37-yard touchdown pass from Jalen Hurts.
I was watching it live. And so first drive of the game. First drive of the game. So that's a good sign for Eagles fans. I don't care about the Eagles.
Yeah. One more thing. We had a little discussion throughout the week about Mr. Kevin Durant, and I wake up to the news that he has been signed to an extension. So he's either going into his 18th or 19th season. So he will be signed into, in the 20th of seasons to, play in Houston. Probably a player option in there just in case he needs to get to where he needs to go. But how do you look at Kevin Durant? Is there anything that he, I don't want to say needs to do because he's already established as one of the greatest scorers and things of that sort. But is there anything that you would like to see from Kevin Durant in the upcoming, seasons, or, how do you feel about him all time?
I actually have a lot of respect for Kevin Durant. I have described him as, and not a lot of people agree with me. I've described him as kind of Dirk 2.0. He started his career kind of a guy in the mid-range elbow, back to the basket, spent a lot of time there, evolved to and he could off the dribble get it done. I'm not saying there was ever a time when he couldn't. But he just at that size was reminiscent of what Dirk brought to the game and being the next evolution of that at the time. He's turned that into not even being a good comparison anymore because Kevin Durant is just Kevin Durant. Quite possibly the most gifted scorer in NBA history. Even at year 18, there's not anyone that would debate his ability to face up at any point on the court and be able to get a bucket. Showed up in Golden State, and Steph Curry happily took what he said was a step back or the passenger seat to defer to KD, which I think as a point guard, that's always supposed to be the narrative. However, Steph Curry was still Steph Curry. They made a great combo with those accents and those accompanying players out there. Klay Thompson, Draymond is just got the most. He's the luckiest guy, the luckiest NBA player in the history of the NBA. Draymond Green, ladies and gentlemen. He's been. The social media era has actually really, really aided a guy like that. What did he do is he chased KD out of town with toxic behavior and impacting culture negatively. Kudos to KD for drawing the line. And even later on in his career, drawing the line and say, don't trade me back there. And not coming out and saying a bunch of things. When he did have the opportunity to say that, he just said it with his actions. So, I think KD has in this era been a very, very honest. He's presented an honest demonstration of himself. He hasn't pretended to be anything else. He hasn't gone out and created a narrative that he was anything else. He said, I'm a basketball player. I don't care about combing my hair. I don't care about any of that other stuff. I don't care about if you guys say I'm ashy. I'm going to not care about that until I get home to my burner account, and then I will care, and I will go all over the place and do all of these things. But that's necessary in this era, especially when you can look up and find that the algorithm allows for people to hide behind fake profiles all the way from Pakistan and Russia. And so if that is the case, why sully your brand with negativity when you can create an ulterior profile to counteract and spew all of your emotions out? And so kudos to KD for keeping Kevin Durant proper, cleansed, and saying, hey, you don't know where I'm popping out with whatever profiles, but just know I have my ways. And I got enough bread to go pay the same people in Pakistan that everybody else is paying with the bots to be able to come against you if you come against me. And so I think for Kevin Durant on the basketball court, he's finishing right now. He's just taking the all-time leader in career earnings from LeBron James. He's played his hand a little bit different in saying that I'm going to partner with organizations that proactively will agree to partner with me in a certain way. So he's coming in below the max, which I think is realistic, but he's locking in about 45 million a year. And then, like you said, there's a player option in there somewhere, I believe, which I think gives him that right to be able to say where he's going to go, just like at the end of this season when the Phoenix Suns were thinking about making some changes, he had some leverage. And so now he's put himself back into another leverage position in a city that in a state, no state income tax. It's in Houston, which players love to play in Houston. They love to visit Houston. And so he should be able to attract some other talent there to play alongside of him, some of those mid-levels, some of those veteran minimums. And so I think Kevin is in a great spot. I really do. I think, we're talking about overall where he fits. I think, although I would have lived a different life than him, and I'm not saying that his is anything wrong with it. It's just not my, he's kind of a, to himself guy. And, you don't really know much about him except for basketball. I think that is authentically him, and I commend him for being himself. So that's my thoughts on Kevin Durant. And I wish him the best in Houston. I may even cheer for him. I may even cheer for the Rockets. I don't know. I like honesty. I like integrity. I don't like, backroom shady deals where we got to talk about if this happened or why this happened or if they're telling the truth and all the rest of it. I don't get into that. That's messy.
Yeah. I think for me, I didn't start actually. I mean, as far as like when I started to watch basketball, I had a team, and I remember very early on, the Lakers and Kobe Bryant, the last championship run, we played the 8-seeded Rockets in the first round, and I remember seeing them like, man, these guys are tough. I mean, Russell Westbrook, he just got signed, but just relentless. You got, I think James Harden was a rookie that season, hooping off the bench. And then you got this guy who's 7 foot, who is so finesse. Like, it was just basically, if he was missing a shot, he was missing a shot. It wasn't really you. We had a good defense, to help with that. We had some defenders, but over the years, I watched him grow more and more. And when he went to Golden State, I think that kind of broke like what I thought about as far as like in that mindset of like being loyal to a team and all that. Like, I never blamed him for wanting to play with good players, because that's what he always did. He played with good players, talented players, and there's nothing wrong with doing what's best for you. So for him to do that, go there and dominate it the way he did, and context.
I'm gonna add something in real quick.
Go ahead.
What do you think the odds of his decision of going to Golden State are different if the Rockets hadn't allowed James or traded James to Houston? Mm-hmm.
I don't think he goes, because James Harden and them would have been him and Harden are good friends. So in the starting five, kind of like a Netflix special, like it kind of gives you an even deeper dive into how good of friends him and James are. Like, they've known each other for a long time, even before James was drafted. So, I mean, I think even before KD was drafted, they knew each other. So I think they would have been able to stay in on the Thunder. I think the question would be, would Russ want to be there per se with that much talent? We later on to see Russ, like, and I'm not saying he's all about stats, but, he was very ball dominant. So I think that would be the question at that point, but I think he would choose to play with James Harden over Steph Curry. But I watched him in those finals. The first one, he just out there hooping. Let's get it done. I'm about to get my first ring. The second one, he tried his hardest to let Steph Curry win that finals MVP. And Steph Curry in a game 3, I believe, in Cleveland, missing everything. And Kevin Durant was like, well, I have to take over, because we can't give the Cavaliers life. We can't give them any life. And he comes down and hits the 3-pointer in that same corner, or that same wing spot. And that showed, I was like, man, if he got the soldiers around him, then the next year, he knows that his Achilles is cooked. And he says, I know I'm leaving this team. I can't really forgive how I've been treated here, but I'm still gonna go out there because I love basketball, and I'm gonna give my all, and I'm gonna see what I can do to help to try to make it a three-peat. And he tears his Achilles, and he comes back arguably better in Brooklyn. I think, to me, that was the best Kevin Durant in Brooklyn, if not for Giannis stepping under Kyrie's landing spot or his foot being on a line in the game 7. He was going to win in Brooklyn. And then they have the COVID stuff going on in the 2020 season that derails the season. James Harden doesn't want to be there anymore. And they trade for Ben Simmons. And he tells the team, well, we're not going to be good enough. I want to get to a situation that maybe I can win and compete and play the highest level of basketball, but I'm not going to quit on you either. And, he has a player option too for leverage, but I think the way that he's been, like how you said, he's honest and he has integrity, that there's a level of respect from the organization to say, and yeah, he has leverage, but I think they respect him to, hey, okay, he's not going to quit on us. Let's find an amicable, trade partner that we can get something back and get some too. And that's repeated and kept going. And he's kept balling and he's kept giving effort. He's been honest. And he's one of those, I have to label him as undeniable. And he slowly became one of my favorite hoopers. One of the only ones that I'll tune in to watch. And hopefully, he can show those guys in Houston with Ime Udoka who got treated in a certain way, and give them a chance to really make some noise in the Western Conference and elevate them to another level. And I would love to see them compete. I'm not sure if I'll pick them yet because I know Fred VanVleet went down. So he's playing with younger guys, but we'll see. We'll see. And hopefully, I know that I can tune in and KD is going to be giving his all. And I got a lot of respect for him, for sure.
Yeah. So it's a player option. So it's a 2-year deal, player option on the second year. LeBron did that a lot over the last decade until he got to the Lakers. Then he started signing a little bit longer deals. I think more like 3-year, 4-year with player options. Potentially this last deal that LeBron went on. And so I like this. I like this for him. And we can expect to see him balling. We can expect to see him balling. And if they don't deliver, then we can expect to see that contract as I think highly movable when you think about where it could end up if needed to move again.
Also, thinking back on it, I think one of the trade partners that could have potentially been there for the Brooklyn Nets were the Celtics with Jaylen Brown. And when you think about it, Ime Udoka was still there. And I'm probably thinking that he was probably the driving force maybe around trying to get Kevin Durant with Jason Tatum to see how this has turned out. And, Kevin Durant going to Houston, they got like a high seed last year, but it wasn't like anything crazy to like really want to be there. Besides, I feel like Udoka and obviously he played college in Texas as well. So he's very familiar with the state, but I look at that and I think that's going to be a very good partnership.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like they're a championship team. I think they have the ability to add pieces that can make them competitive, and potentially they can come together as a team and play some really good basketball that may put them in that position. But right now, I don't think they have the pieces to be that. And so let's see what they do.
Let's see
what they do. Anything else we need to touch on before we get out of here on this episode of the podcast stable?
Real quick, I know the game has already started, and this doesn't have to be a pick or anything, but I just seen a notification pop up. There's a really like 2 bad teams playing today, and both coaches are. I mean, everybody in the organizations are probably on the hot seat with Miami or Cleveland and Miami.
Cleveland and Miami. Okay. Yeah.
Did Dylan Gabriel get his first win today? I mean, I think this is it. This should be like, you got to win this one.
Man, you know, I haven't seen anything. I haven't done any research on this, and I don't really care for Cleveland at all. You know, what are you talking about? Horrible culture. I'd like to see Tua get a win. I'd like to see Tua get a win. You know, I actually have a soft spot in my heart for that story. I wish he would have retired. I wish he would retire. But I can't ever fault a person for pursuing their passion. But those head injuries are real, and you just don't know how impactful that'll be for the family, especially a father with young children, and then has the means to be able to, you know, move on at this point. And so, but this is his decision. And so, while he's out there, if it's him versus the Browns, I'm taking Tua. And the Miami Dolphins, I've always believed that those colors, you know, that uniform, I mean, it might be that combination may be the sweetest in sports. And so, you know, I think they need to clean up and do some things differently out there. I think McDaniels is on the hot seat. Tua spoke openly and then had to, you know, walk some things back, which I didn't know what he said that was so bad if people are not showing up for meetings. But I guess people just expect for the quarterback and those who kind of are leaders of the organization not to air dirty laundry, maybe. I'm all for telling truth on any level. And so that's what we believe here at One Integration and social media is. It's about truth and light. And so if you don't like it, then do something different, or be a better person, or be a better friend or servant. That's what we're called to be. If we're both following the same example in attempting to be Christ-like. Now, if you're not attempting to be Christ-like, then, you know, do whatever you want. You know, that's the easiest thing to do. And, you know, we wish you the best of luck. So I myself am one for honesty, integrity, and just being able to be yourself. And I think that story with Tua, Miami, being able to share it out loud, I didn't see an issue with that, but somehow or another he figured he needed to apologize. But I like Miami in that game. I hope to see Tua get a win.
Yeah, I like the Cleveland Browns defense. I've actually liked Tua too as well. I will say, for me, it's Darren Waller. That redemption story for him to come out of retirement and be playing now, and he's playing at a really good level, and for him to make that type of bounce back, I would like to see them win today. That Cleveland's defense is tough. I didn't put Darren Waller in on my fantasy team because I'm just saying that Myles Garrett, that's a different beast right there, and they got that cornerback. I think it's Denzel Ward too, who's super solid. So I don't know who's gonna win, but I just wanted to give a shout out to Darren Waller because, for a guy who got suspended and all that stuff and retired to come back and still be playing good, it's awesome. So I feel like that's it from this week 7 recap. We're gonna see how it goes down.
Yeah. So I'm already tuned in. I'm already through my second cup of Joe. I'm gonna sit back. I got to go figure out if Cruz had enough breakfast. The daughter can eat. She's a growing young lady, and so I got to make sure that's the case.
Yeah, let me know if y'all want to.
Peace.
Peace.